Right, so I think we'll make a start now. So thank you for coming to our virtual subject information evening this evening. So my name is Sophie. I am the designer and digital marketing coordinator for here at East Coast College. Just to make you aware that we will be recording this session, and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so you can either revisit in the future, or people that were unable to attend this evening can watch it again. So in this session, we will be covering welding and fabrication, and we've got our curriculum manager for engineering, Alan, here this evening to talk about the course for you and to answer any questions that you may have. So throughout the session, if you do find that you have a question, there is a Q&A box just at the bottom of the screen. So feel free just to type your question in there and we'll visit it at the end. I'll now hand you over to Alan, who'll talk to you a little bit more about welding and fabrication.
Thank you, Sophie. Firstly, welcome to East Coast College virtual open event for welding. So my name is Alan, I'm the curriculum manager and I'm responsible for engineering, welding and fabrication and motor vehicle. So again, just to give you a bit of an overview of the programs that we offer within welding and fabrication across our both campuses. So firstly, we're very fortunate that we have two dedicated welding and fabrication departments. Most colleges now are integrating these into engineering. We still feel that as sectors, these are really key to our local industry. And certainly with infrastructure projects moving forward, they'll become even bigger and more important. And there's some really exciting opportunities in the pipeline. So we offer a whole host of options for welding and fabrication. So the main 16 to 18 study program goes from a pre-entry, which I'll go into and describe a little bit more in a moment, through to the main program of a 2 or 3 year welding and fabrication development program ready for an apprenticeship standard. So year one would look like a very practically heavy program. So it's ideal for learners that really find the academic process slightly harder, but have very good kind of hand skills, and they want to go into one of those craft areas. So we do a lot of fabrication tasks. So learners in their first year would work up on sheet metal, so very thin metal, through to plate in a thicker sense of material. We would make things up to and including a toolbox. They'd also learn the main welding processes in very simple form. So that they would do some simple welds in simple positions, and then they'd move through. As that program then goes through in year one, we'd look to increase the academic elements. So start heavy in practical and then feed through. The whole idea of that first year of program is to be able to develop the underpinning knowledge for the learner to then be successful on their level 2 or their level 3 qualification. So that's what year one would look like for the vast majority of learners. So entry onto that program would require learners to have GCSE grade 3 in English and maths, and preferably science. If a learner comes in with a grade 4, they have the option to go onto that program or go directly onto the level 2. Some learners, just because they've got the academic ability, doesn't mean that they've got the practical skills to go with that, and vice versa. So we find that normally within the first 6-week period, there may be a bit of chopping and changing between the year one program and the year 2 program, and that's quite normal within welding and fabrication. So year 2 now builds on the foundation phase we've created in year 1. It's around about 50% theoretical, 50% practical, and you'd study units from health and safety, communications, engineering, science, around to the theoretical content of the welding processes, engineering drawing, and then touch on destructive and non-destructive testing. The phase through that would then be progression into level 3, or the option at that point to then move across into the apprenticeship standard. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that one in a second. So the level 3 builds on that foundation, it builds on the level 2, and now it enhances all of that, ready to be able to then have what we would class as an ability to go out and practice. So some of our learners go direct into employment, others move across into an apprenticeship at that point. So just reverting back, if your son or daughter doesn't have grade 3s, it's not the end of the world. ECC, we have a program for everyone, and within Welding and Fabrication, at our Great Yarmouth campus, we offer a pre-vocational entry point. And this is for any learner that's got grade 1 through to grade 3, or potentially they just need a little bit of extra time to transition from school environment into a vocational setting. And again, the program is designed to be a stepping stone, work and develop on the academic range of skills, not just in English and maths. We also find that some learners struggle around communication, behaviours towards one another, and it's really trying to now move the learner from a school environment into a work environment. And some learners just take a little bit of extra time. And again, the department are quite used to that, and they'll work with every learner and individually create a program over a period of time. So that's the option for all learners. There's an option to go into the foundation phase, year 2, year 3. The apprenticeship side allows the learners to be able to come off of that program at any point and go into the apprenticeship standard. The apprenticeship standard is a 3.5-year program. However, if a learner completes a year 2 or a year 3 program with us, that has the ability to reduce the duration of their apprenticeship, because we're able to match their current existing skills and just develop on the areas that they need further practice. The apprenticeship standard offered is classed as a metal fabricator, but it includes all welding and fabrication principles. That's been chosen in conjunction with local employers, and that's what they deem as the best fit for the multi-skilled type of environments that we have locally. However, moving forward, Welding and Fabrication have some really exciting opportunities. So currently, there's the 2 bridges being built. There's opportunities for welders and fabricators to move across more into a civil engineering environment. However, the biggest infrastructure project on the horizon will be Sizewell C. Now, it's very likely that during the build phase of there could be up to 500 welders on site every day. Looking at the information from the current work that's happening at Hinkley Point C, that's what's likely to happen. Also, to then put that into context, East Coast College has been working with the supply chain for Hinkley Point C, and we were very fortunate that 4 learners from ECC are now currently serving as apprentices through Hinkley Point C. 2 are with Babcock as pipe fitters, and they currently were studying on their level 3 with East Coast College, 1 at Great Yarmouth and 1 at Lowestoft. They went through a selection process and were taken forward. We've got 1 doing project control and 1 as a maintenance fitter. The idea is that there's a working agreement currently that those learners would complete their apprenticeship, and then as soon as Sizewell C was available, they'd come back into the local area. So there's some great opportunities now, even though that infrastructure project isn't currently up and running and still going for approval. However, there is those opportunities on the horizon, as well as the supply chain too there. So a lot of welding companies know that they will need to up production and become part of that supply chain, and they're also looking to further develop. So there are job opportunities on the horizon for welders and fabricators, and there's also some further opportunities for industrial programs, and we've got some in the pipeline that we hope that we can allow any learners starting next year to be part of. Unfortunately, we're waiting to see if we win those tenders, but if they do, there'll be a real good opportunity to further enhance skills on top of what would be the normal program. So progression routes, as we spoke about, into apprenticeships in employment is the most common. However, the programs are set up to allow learners to also progress into higher education. So one of the exit points for a welder fabricator could be in non-destructive testing and destructive testing. And that's an area that in the higher education sector, there's courses out there, and the program that the learner is taking will obviously touch on all of those and the theoretical concepts. However, the job-wise, there's opportunities for that for those that want to study in higher education, in a higher apprenticeship or degree apprenticeships. So hopefully that's given you an idea of where welding and fabrication is for East Coast College. There's some real great opportunities. We've got a great team, and we'd love to have you on board for next year. Thank you, Sophie.
Great, thanks, Alan. So now we'll just move over to just a little Q&A, question and answer session. So if you do have any questions, please do pop them in the box just below, and Alan will do his best to answer your question. I'm just going to have a look to see if we've got any at the moment. There we go. Okay, so we've got a couple to start with. So someone, it looks like someone maybe not too sure what course they're looking to do. So they've asked, is it possible to swap courses in September?
Okay, so the answer to your question is yes, it's possible. We do every year have some learners that aren't quite sure, and especially because of COVID, we haven't been able to do the open events like we normally would have done, and had some of the touch points during the year. So I suppose my question back would be, if you're unsure at any point in time, speak to the tutors, and then we can look at appropriate opportunities. We know there'll be some movement because of what we've just had to go through for the last 18 months. However, there's also that part where we don't want to just keep hopping for the sake of hopping from course to course. So I would say that any learner that's not sure in September, make it quite aware from day one that I think this is what I want to do, but I'd also interested in this. That first 6 weeks is really critical to get everybody settled into the right programs, onto the right courses. A lot of the engineering programs, we cover the same range, so there's that opportunity to move. And especially something like welding and fabrication wouldn't be the first learner to come in and go, I want to be a welder, and suddenly they see an arc being struck and there's sparks flying everywhere, and they're like, I don't want to be anywhere near that, I don't like it. So it wouldn't be the first, it won't be the last. It is a hot, dirty environment, and again, you have to kind of be aware, and sometimes learners aren't sure until they're in there and they see it. So hopefully that answers the question. Yes, we can do something.
Great, thank you. So I think you touched on it slightly where you mentioned that some students can move to more of the apprenticeship route. We've just got someone that's asked, so will the college support students to move to the apprenticeship route?
Yeah, so our delivery teams have obviously local contacts within industry. We also have industrial placement officers, and we have the apprenticeship team which work closely. So any learner in any environment potentially will be working alongside those that teach apprentices, those that go out and assess, and also could be in the same workshop at the same time as groups of apprentices. So there's lots of opportunity and interaction. We do look to get as many people out. Part of our role is to prepare people for employment, and it's kind of critical to our outcomes as much as it is as passing the qualification. We want to see everybody getting a job because that's what they've come to us for. So we'll do everything we can to prepare the learner for employment. Unfortunately, what I will say is that job isn't going to come and knock on the learner's front door. We will help that person to find where there's opportunities, help with CVs, help with interview questions, and do everything we possibly can to open as many doors as we can.
Great, thank you. So a similar question to the other session that we've had. So someone would like to know how many days a week they're expected to be in college for welding.
Okay, so welding, a good majority of learners in welding, because of the entry requirements, may require an English and maths resit, whether that be a functional skills or a GCSE. So their program as a minimum would definitely be 3 days, and it could push to 4. Their program normally is around about 14 to 18 hours, something along those lines, because it normally includes English and maths on top of the vocational area. And again, I think that's quite critical. We know that learners in certain vocational areas have struggled a little bit more academically. So we'll try and do everything we possibly can to support around those. However, they're not as tightly compact as perhaps engineering programs may be, where they've already got those GCSEs at grade 4. So you're looking at 3 days, possibly 4, but not 5.
Great. Let me just have a look. So someone's asked, so do we offer any work experience at all?
So yeah, we have an industrial placement officer who works with the curriculum team and our employer team to look for opportunities. We're very fortunate in welding. We've got some companies that actively every year take learners on work experience. From their perspective, they like to have learners there for a fixed period of time, and then they'll ask those to then apply for an potential apprenticeship. The one thing I will say is that locally we've got welding and fabrication companies, but the work we do is wider than just Great Yarmouth and Lowestoft. So I know there's a company in Wymondham that have worked very closely with us, and they always are willing to take people on, and every year so far for the last 5 years have been taking on 2 apprentices from people that went on work experience with them. The tricky part, obviously, for a 16-year-old is the travel element to some of these companies. So we have to consider that in about who can go to where, and is it appropriate? Can they get there? Can they get the time? But that if the learner's able to get to those opportunities, they normally lead to a job potential prospect. The other bit is there's also a lot of learners that know people within the local industry, and then are able to source work experience that way as well, and they're always good because it opens up future avenues for other people in the future, and it continually grows. So we'd look to get everybody into work experience, but it's something which needs to be a sort of two-way path, learner and college working in conjunction together.
Great, thank you. So I think that may be all of the questions that we've got. Just have a quick look. Go. Yeah, so that is everything for this session. So thank you for joining us. If you haven't already applied for welding, or you'd like to have a look at all the other courses that we offer, if you just head over to the website, you can navigate through our courses on there. If you do have any problems and you do need some help with your application, or if you find that you've got a question that you haven't answered here this evening that you'd like to ask us, please email us at heretohelp@eastcoast.ac.uk, and a member of the team will get back to you as soon as they can. But thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.